Have you ever noticed how the most difficult moments in our lives often happen when we are standing right in the middle of a crowd? We can be surrounded by people we know and yet feel completely alone because of one single comment or one unfair decision. Imagine giving every ounce of your energy to a dream only to be told that you do not fit the picture. This is not about a lack of skill or a lack of hard work. It is about something much deeper and more painful. It is about being told that your very existence breaks a certain pattern of beauty. When we think about beauty, we often think of it as something soft and kind, but sometimes the way we define beauty can be used as a wall to keep people out. This kind of exclusion does not just hurt our feelings. It shakes the foundation of who we are. It makes us wonder if the world we have chosen to live in is actually big enough for us. When a person is told they do not belong because of how they look, it creates a heavy silence that stays in the room long after the words are spoken. You might expect a person in that situation to walk away and never look back. It would be the easiest thing to do to protect yourself. But there is a very quiet and very stubborn type of strength that happens when a person decides to come back the next day anyway. This is the first level of understanding what it means to stay in a space that does not want you. We often think of strength as a loud and powerful force. We think of it as winning a battle or standing on a mountain. But real strength is often much smaller and much more fragile than that. It is the simple act of waking up and showing up when your heart is not in it. It is the fear that if you leave, you are not just leaving for yourself, but you are closing the door for everyone who comes after you. This brings us to a hidden truth about why we keep going. Sometimes we do not stay because we feel brave. We stay because we feel a responsibility to the future. We stay because we know that if we disappear, the people who come next will have no one to look up to. There is a weight in being the only one who looks like you in a room. It is a burden that most people do not see. It is the pressure of representing an entire group of people while you are just trying to do your job. This structural pattern of exclusion is not accidental. It is built into the history of the things we love. Many of our most beautiful traditions were created in a time when only certain people were allowed to participate. When we try to change those traditions, we face a lot of resistance. This resistance is often disguised as a desire to keep things classic or to maintain an aesthetic. But we have to ask ourselves what we are losing when we choose a narrow definition of beauty over the richness of human experience. When we look at the history of any art form or any profession, we see these invisible lines that were drawn a long time ago. Breaking those lines is not a one-time event. It is a slow and painful process that takes years and sometimes decades. It requires the courage of those who came before us and the persistence of those who are working now. We can reframe this struggle not just as a fight for ourselves but as a bridge between generations. Think about the people who paved the way 50 or 60 years ago. They faced dangers and obstacles that we can hardly imagine today. They were told no in ways that were much more direct and much more aggressive. When we see someone from that generation standing in the wings and watching a younger person succeed, it is more than just a happy moment. It is a moment of healing. It is a sign that the wall is finally starting to crack. The stage that once shut people out becomes a place where they can finally stand together. This tells us that our personal pain is part of a much larger story. Your struggle today might be the light that guides someone else tomorrow. This is why we must be careful not to give up when things feel impossible. We are not just working for our own success. We are changing the shape of the room so that one day the room belongs to everyone. In our daily lives, we all face moments where we feel invisible or undervalued. We might be in a meeting where our voice is ignored or in a social circle where we feel like an outsider. In those moments, it is helpful to remember that showing up is an act of power. Even if you do not say a word, your presence changes the environment. You are a living reminder that the old ways of thinking are no longer enough. We often focus on the big moments of triumph like receiving an award or getting a promotion. But the real transformation happens in the years of quiet work that lead up to those moments. It happens in the early mornings when you are tired and the late nights when you are doubting yourself. It happens every time you choose to believe in your own worth even when the world is telling you something else. We should think about the people in our lives who have felt excluded. How can we be the person who holds the door open for them? How can we help build a world where beauty is not defined by how someone looks but by the depth of their character and the strength of their spirit? This journey is not easy and it is not short. It is a long walk through a landscape that was not designed for us. But every step we take makes the path a little smoother for the person walking behind us. We are all part of a long chain of people who are trying to make the world a little more fair and a little more beautiful. When we finally reach that moment of success, it is not just our own victory. It is a victory for everyone who ever felt like they did not belong. It is a way of telling the world that we are here and we are not going anywhere. This kind of resilience is what changes history. It is not a grand speech or a sudden revolution. It is the steady and quiet refusal to be erased. We must learn to value the small steps just as much as the big leaps. We must learn to find beauty in the struggle and strength in the heartbreak. As we move forward, we carry the hopes of those who could not finish the journey. We carry the memories of the people who were told no so that we could one day say yes. This is the true meaning of legacy. It is not what we leave behind but what we build while we are still here. It is the way we transform a place of exclusion into a place of belonging. It is the way we turn our deepest pain into a source of hope for others. When you feel like giving up, remember that you are not just standing there for yourself. You are standing there for every person who was ever told they were not enough. You are proving that they were wrong. You are showing that beauty is much bigger than they ever imagined. This work is slow and it is hard, but it is the most important work we can do. We are rewriting the rules of the game while we are playing it. We are making sure that the next generation does not have to feel the same silence that we felt. We are making sure that when they look at the stage they see themselves reflected back. This is how we move from a world of walls to a world of open doors. It takes time and it takes a lot of heart, but the view from the other side is worth everything we had to endure to get there. When you find yourself in a room where you feel like you do not belong, will you choose to stay and be the light that guides the next person in?